is Stephanie Ritter-Mott, and I'm the President of Courageous Living. And my passion in life is to help my clients to develop the gifts and talents within them to go further and farther than they ever thought possible. And one of the ways I do that is through these YouTube videos. And one of the things I want to talk about today is friendships. You know, as we go through our life, and especially as we enter in this new decade, and actually this new year, but most of the new decade, we're going to find that our friends go through different phases. There's a reason, a season, and a lifetime of friendships. And don't be surprised as your friends kind of shift a little bit in that process. It doesn't mean anything negative unless it's someone that's toxic that you need to get out of your life. But I've learned over time, and it took me a long time to learn this, is that people pass through your life. Some, like the lifetime, they stay with you. Some are for a reason and some are for a season. But one of the things I've seen with especially the younger people, and I hope you'll share this with your, if you have a son or a daughter that are going to be graduating this year, or maybe they've already graduated in the last year, one of the things that they really experience is that, you have this close-knit group of friends, right? Maybe it's from elementary on, maybe you've come into the high school as a new student, but you've built this connection with people. And all of a sudden you graduate. Everyone's excited, you have your open houses, you spend the summer together, and then everyone goes off in their own direction. And even though social media has found a way to keep us all connected, it really can be hard for a lot of these young people when all of a sudden now they're making new friends, but they're really longing for the friendships that they had maybe in high school, and they don't know how to navigate that. And so sometimes it's important to tell them that, those friends might still be lifetime friends, but you got to cultivate that. So one of the things that I learned when we were going to move to a new city is that my son was in 5th grade, and I saw him go through the exact same thing, but he was still too young to kind of navigate this. But he realized after about a year when we moved to our new city was that, I worked really hard to stay in touch with the parents, to get the friends together. We each had to meet halfway, about 30 minutes each way. But I found that after a year, that kind of faded off. The parents didn't really want to spend that time, driving a half an hour. And the kids are, they're 5th grade. They don't know how to really navigate a long distance friendship, right? So I had to teach my son that it wasn't rejection. It wasn't like, because he felt like they forgot him. And I said, they didn't really forget you. It's just explaining that, people are on different paths now. You moved to a new city, they moved on in the school that you were at, and they've got their friends, and now you're making new friends. They'll still cross paths, believe it or not, through sports. We'll be at different events, and he'll see some of his old friends at those sporting events. But it's a different chapter in his life. And he's very young to try to experience it. Now we're 5 years into this, he's learned to navigate it. But I remember watching him and trying to help him through this process. Now, I didn't share these 3 categories with him, but it is something that as the kids get older, that you can share with them as their life continues to move forward, and maybe they are moving to different cities, maybe a new school, as they graduate, as college, maybe it's a new job. I like what Mel Robbins says. She says, here's how you can kind of define a friend. She says, she calls it the funeral test. Now it sounds a little bit morbid, but just kind of hang with me here. She says, if someone in your life dies, would you go to their funeral? And if you say, well, yeah, of course I would, then that means that person still has a place in your heart and in your life, that they're still a friend. Even if you're not crossing paths on a daily basis or you're not communicating even weekly. So some friends are for a reason. That means if you're going to be starting a new job, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you're building that tribe of people, they're there for a reason, because they're there to help surround you, give you wisdom, give you guidance, give you connections, and you the same for them. So I've learned in the hard way is not to chase friendships. Sometimes when you're really lonely, I went through my divorce, I was going through a really hard time, and if someone crossed my path and there was a connection, I'd be like, oh wow, that's a new friend. And then I realized they were just passing through. They were there to give me maybe wisdom or to be a friend for a short period of time, and then they moved on. And so I finally realized, and I understand this process, that people cross our paths as you cross others for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So that's the reason. A season is a little bit different. Let's just use the high school scenario. Is that, whether you go back to all elementary school, junior high, the high school, wherever that connection took place, It's a season, because a lot of times, again, as I just mentioned, those kids then move on to different colleges. Maybe they go right into a career. And so they're there for that season of time. And you might find that you're in people's lives for a season of time. And that's okay, because again, you have to look for the silver lining. Even if those friendships move on, or those people move on, what did you gain from that? I've had some that have ended on a sad note, not on an argumentative, but just, we entered different chapters. But I still can look back and go, I can still learn from that person. There's still things that they deposited into my life, and hopefully I deposited some things into their life. And so you have to look for the silver lining, is that just because they've moved into a different chapter doesn't mean it's a negative thing. It's just, this is how life is. But the beauty is that we have social media now, and we have all these different ways that we can connect. When I moved to a new city, I moved to a city that I actually grew up in. And so I was able to reconnect with a couple of friends that I went to school with. So here we are 30 years later, and now we've reconnected and we've reestablished that friendship. And so again, all these things change in our lives. But the important thing is to remember is not to take all these things personally if someone moves into a new chapter. So then you have your lifetime friends. We all know what that is. And so those lifetime friends, you may not spend as much time with them, believe it or not. You might find you only speak once a month. Maybe you see each other a couple times a year, depending on where you live. But I call them my lifeline friends. There's a couple of people that I have in my life that maybe I don't talk to all the time, and I do miss talking to them. But I know if I'm in a pickle or if I'm going through a hard time, I can call them and I can have that conversation with them, and I know that they're there for me. So just understand the chapter that you're in, the season that you're in, and also where those people are at too. Because you're gonna find that, these are still great people to have in your life. It just may not always be a lifetime relationship, and then it's okay, because you're the same with them. You might be coming into people's lives that you don't even know it. You might be touching people's lives for a season or a reason. So when you go into this new decade, really embrace the people that cross your path, because they are depositing things that you need at that point in time, just like you are for them. So my friend, continue to stay curious about life, live that courageous life, and until next time, just know that, you have gifts and talents within you, and they're going to take you further and farther than you ever thought possible.